Okay, just sent the invitation to Samantha, and she should be here any minute. Any second, says she joined. Send it again. Okay. I just sent the invitation to Samantha again. So there we go. Accept. So, yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
I
Good.
love when I get to watch you talk to yourself.
I'm watching. I'm going. I'm sending it. Why is she not clicking on it and everything? This is connecting. All right, we got grass cutting going on in the background here, so nothing to
Oh,
do about that.
hold on, I might just have to go open. Steve went out on the balcony so that he can talk loudly, but when Steve goes out on the balcony, Jersey likes to join him. She thinks it's suntanning time. Hold on one sec, let me just let her out.
Okay.
Suntan time, Kers? She wants to be with you. Okay, sorry about that.
That's not a problem.
Let me get rid of that too. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Graph Girls. Do you want to still call it Icons of Real Estate?
Sure. That's what I am and you're becoming.
I'm on my way.
You're on your
27
way there.
years later, I'm still en route. I'm on the journey.
That's right. You're there. You're
All
getting
right,
there.
so today's topic, we decided to address managing sellers' expectations. And one of the reasons why we're addressing that is it's no news that we are in a very day by day market, shall we say. It's continuously changing, and we all know that. Well, we know what the announcement is pretty much going to be, but officially it's tomorrow, right? Officially tomorrow?
What? I'm sorry.
Announcement?
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
so. Yeah.
So,
I think I think the key word that we're going to both probably repeat and repeat is communication, because that really is the key word throughout any listing, whether you're in a good market, a fast market, or a slow market. You must be in complete communication with your sellers.
unless, hold on, I
Sorry.
wanted to say, unless your seller does not really want to hear anything from you unless there's an offer. Or there's some kind of real activity, because we do find that in these types of markets or on certain listings, when you're hearing the same feedback every single time and it's something you cannot change, we find that it is better, or the client basically through their comments has suggested to us, and we try to read very well what is being told to us, so that we don't bother them with the same repetitive, quite frankly, negative feedback.
I think it's just you can get around that with your wording, basically by saying we have been following up and there isn't an offer yet to be spoken about, but we're trying our best to get the people to come to paper.
So one of the things we are going to ask any seller out there, whether they're ours or not, you really, really want to practice, and it's a hard one, I know, but practice your patience here. because we can tell you that on our listings, we have had a fair amount of showing. So there are people still actively looking. It's sort of getting them to come to paper is a little bit different. And a lot of that has to do, unfortunately, with the media, which is why Cheryl's comment about constant communication is really important, because each day, as I said, things change and you want to be up to date on those changes. So
it's also to communicate any sales or new listings that come to market or have sold. So that way your seller keeps in tune with the values of the market.
in their neighborhood specifically.
Yeah,
and this is one
specifically
of
their
the
neighborhood.
most important things right now is we use this word hyper local. It's hyper local. It's so specific to your home, your street, your neighborhood, what your house has to offer, which is always the case, quite frankly, but even more so now. So that's also.
I think what it is also, you can't be afraid. You can't like tiptoe around and not be able to speak with your seller openly and honestly. You can't always tell them, unfortunately, what they want to hear. They have to know the cold hard facts, so to speak. So it's good because it is a changing market. It's not like, oh, we had this showing and it's great and we think we're going to get an offer. So sometimes I was speaking with one of our sellers this morning because I needed some information about the house, what had been done. And I said, wow, we have had so many showings. She said, yes, Sunday we had like 7 showings. I said, well, you know, hopefully something will come. And she said to me, Cheryl, just be patient. We're fine.
It's always
go,
nice
wow,
when the seller's
okay,
telling you to be patient.
Total reverse. She's telling me to be patient. So I'm going, yeah, I am, but I'm just a little surprised, you know, out of all this
We're not, look,
activity.
we're not used to it now, but the difference also is that Cheryl and I and many other agents who have been in the business forever, we've experienced this before. Whereas anybody who's been in the business for the last few years, even the last 10 years, I would actually say, has not experienced this. And it's interesting, we have our Monday morning meetings on Zoom for Callis every week. And it's so, it was actually like, I couldn't help but to, and I'm smiling now because a young agent who actually, I think he's even been in it for a little bit, but definitely 5 years or less, and really didn't know about an escape clause and was asking about it, you know, and the rules affiliated with it. And it's funny because most recently, actually, when we listed a home in the last few weeks, the agents, because there's multiple of us, spoke about because of the area, because of the type of buyer, because of what the house had to offer, everything, we had a feeling that, you know, it would definitely have a condition. And with those conditions, you know, it gets tied up for a while. And especially now to manage, another thing to make a comment about our topic about managing expectations is that the price that you hear us say is not going to be one that you are remotely probably okay with. However, and this came up in our meeting yesterday, and it was a brilliant point, bang on in my opinion, that if a bank does not approve your house for the price that both parties have agreed to, the person is probably going to walk. The buyer will walk, and they will have that with a condition on finance, which is very popular right now. And, you know, so don't be surprised if that happens. And I know I've mentioned this term before, anchor bias. And, you know, once you see a number, you get stuck on that. So, one of the things, just as a suggestion, A, to the sellers out there, and B, to any less experienced agents, or just a reminder to the experienced one, is when you tell a seller a range, be careful what you say. If you're not sure about that top number and you're just being hopeful or trying to get the listing, which is the worst thing you could possibly do, by the way, we do not do that. Don't say it. Like, just don't say it. They don't want, like, they will get stuck on the higher number, not the lower number. So be very, very careful what you say. This market it's important in this one, in this type of market. But going back also to the expectations, I touched upon the fact that there will be conditions most likely in your offers these days, which we're not used to for the last 10 years, especially ones like conditional on the sale of your home.
That's a possibility. It hasn't, well, we haven't seen that as of yet, but there are a lot of people who are investing. We're finding a lot of people,
Yes.
it's an opportune time for them to invest. They don't want to sell where they live. They're very happy in their area and their home, but they want to have for the income because they do feel it is a good time for them to buy a second property. And people always know that real estate is a great investment.
Yeah.
And right now, even though the interest rates are higher, the prices are lower. So they are working out.
That being said, I mean, if you
And
really think back,
rents are high too.
sorry, the rent.
People are getting good money for rent.
Yes, definitely. And the other thing is that when you really put into perspective too, your interest rates are still relatively low. Maybe, you know, a year or two ago they were lower, and it was like, I mean, I've heard people use the word like they're giving away money, you know. So now they're not giving away money necessarily, but they are still quite low in comparison to, you know, even 10 years ago, 7 years ago.
And a lot of people are feeling it's turned to be a buyer's market. In some places it is, but in others it isn't, because basically there's still low inventory. People are selling because they're being transferred. There's unfortunate financial, you know, things are happening in their lives, or they just need, for whatever reason, like good reason. They're putting their house on the market now. They have a good reason.
Well, the other thing, and yeah, it's basically a life stage situation in most cases. And the one thing that we are finding though is that a lot of the sellers who would be coming to the market, which is just feeding this lack of supply, are saying, you know what? I'm not going to come. I'm going to just wait, or I'm going to rent it out, and they go buy their condo. You know, I'm just using one example of the stage, and they rent their house out because they can. You know, at that stage of life, a lot of people don't have a mortgage on the house, so they're able to do that. And even, like I said, at this rate, people in that situation, when once upon a time, those people could have even had a interest rate of like 18%. And they're looking at like 5.5, or what is it, like whatever it's going up to, 6.5. They're looking at it still saying it's low because they own their house full out.
But there's many people who are looking at these investment properties, and they're looking to see if they can, if it has a side entrance, because if it has a side entrance, then whoever buys it, they then can rent it out to someone else.
Well, side entrance into the basement.
Right. Yeah. They get to
a side entrance to the main floor of one level doesn't work so well.
Right.
We've learned that.
Yeah. They want that though. Whoever's buying it, they live upstairs, and then they're able to, because it helps pay off the mortgage for them for
Absolutely.
a couple of years. It's not something that they'll do for many years, but we had a young couple a number of years ago, and it was a townhouse, and they rented out a room because it helped to pay their mortgage. They only had to do it, luckily, for a year, and then they were able to stay there on their own and then move to a larger property. So it does work for people. So it just means if it's a higher rate, they just may be renting out part of the property to help them with the mortgage for a year.
Another question a lot of people sort of seem to ask, I find when I'm out and about, and everyone asks, what's going on with the market? How you guys doing? Blah blah blah. So the different price points and how it is affecting the different price points. And one thing we've always noticed, whether you're in a great, strong, healthy, crazy, multiple offers off market or not, is that it's a dominoes effect. So if the first time buyer isn't buying, it sort of pushes everybody up. But then there's also this category where people are like, yeah, but what about the people who are buying a house for 5-6 million? Well, let's be real. A lot of those people also are taking out mortgages, and they can't all afford the 5-6 million without a certain interest rate. That's what they're basing it on, which is bringing them into that category. So they might be looking in the 3 million, let's say, instead. But again, it's a complete dominoes effect.
Well, we know that from following up on different showings of the properties we've had listed and
And we
sold,
have different ranges,
that
definitely.
people are just really saying, some of the agents are saying, with the next increase, my person qualified for what you're asking for your home, but in another week, their mortgage rate expires from the bank and they're going to be bumped up. And if they have to qualify at the higher rate, their price, they're brought down by almost $200,000 because of the increase from what they were given 90 days ago. So it makes a difference in it. So that's where the pricing is going to be looked at carefully, and people are trying to get a deal. So you just have to realize you still have to go with the statistics and what the house has to offer with the location and what upgrades it has had to it.
And the other thing you want is you want somebody, and Cheryl and I have experienced this because we've been referred to different parts of the city that we might not commonly help people buy and sell in, but when we're sent to a different area, we learn that area very quickly because that's the type of agents we are. So it's important that you have I don't want to say an area specialist anymore, because we've had multiple experiences where we were more knowledgeable than the so-called local specialist. And so I just want to suggest that whoever the agent you trust most and you feel will get the job done fully, knows what is going on with those solds, because a seller can tell you a statistic, but they have no inner knowledge. They're going off of, because we all know these days you can get all sorts of information off the internet, but an agent digs a little bit deeper to find out why that person sold at that price, especially when the price is off for the area, whether it's too high or too low. Something went on there. Either the the buyer wanted that house, like, oh my God, years ago, we have a story, but I won't get into that. But the person would have paid anything for it. Before our offer date, we had an offer for over like 400,000 over asking, and our sellers decided to wait till the offer date. But this was the buyer for the house. And sometimes there's a really emotional attachment for that person, and they just jump high on the price. Like they just want it no matter what, and so that's one reason for a high one. And then a lower one could be like, you got to find out why did that seller sell, and what made them sell at that price, because it was quite low for the area. So you want to have that insight sort of on the sales. And Cheryl looks like she has to go to an appointment. I just know she's like, okay, no.
I do. I've got something.
I can tell.
Gotta be somewhere.
You have to be there. You're looking at the clock.
I am. Anyway, enjoy the great weather out there today.
Just be sure you're on time for our play tonight.
I know. 8 o'clock, right?
Okay.
8 o'clock.
Yes.
I have it written down. All right. We're going to see Mean Girls tonight with
we're the Graph Girls, but we're not Mean Girls at all.
No. But it's supposed to be quite good and funny, so we're looking forward to it. All right, everybody, have a great day and a great week.
Happy Tuesday.
And we'll see you soon. Bye.